Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Hope you guys been enjoying the content channel as of late. This is literally a spur on the moment type of video because this literally just dropped like maybe an hour ago as of the recording of this video. And as I just got finished doing the news roundup, I literally just got done doing the news roundup and I just looked on my news feed and saw this pop up. And sorry if you hear the kitties, they're just hanging out here. This is rather interesting. So, we have been talking about the tariffs on this channel. We did a couple of videos in regards to, of course, if you are following any of the political news, of course, there's the ongoing discussion regarding Trump's tariffs and the impacts that they're having on distribution and imports. And specifically when it came to film, we talked about in relations to China, because ultimately this is what these tariffs are mainly targeting, or they're being used as negotiation tactics on Trump's part, even though it affects people like us and other things. His rationale is to use it as a negotiating tactic. And I talked about how I felt that these tariffs would go away, and I am still believing that they will, because there is there's a point where pressures will just be too high and one party is going to fold, probably the U.S., let's just be frank, and these things would just go away. Now, I still stand by that, and even talking about this specific story, I still stand by these things because of ultimately what, again, these tariffs are meant to be in the vein of the Trump administration, what they're trying to do. So, but this is kind of significant, though, because this is directly now going towards film. Because tariffs before, they were a more umbrella term, it was more about just imports in general. This is now a tariff being directly pushed towards film. So just wanted to talk about this because it just came out. So I'm going to read the Deadline article for you. So it reads that, quote, Donald Trump said that he is ordering the U.S. Trade Representative and the Commerce Department to begin the process to impose a 100% tariff on imports of movies that are produced in, quote, foreign lands, calling runway production a, quote, national security threat. Trump's comments follow reports that one of his, quote, special ambassadors to Hollywood, Jon Voight, was devising a plan to save the entertainment industry. Trump wrote on Truth Social, quote, the movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the United States, aka, AI and lower rates to film in their countries. Hollywood and many areas within the U.S. are being devastated, aka their rates are extremely high, and people can't afford to work in those places, but whatever. This is a concerted effort by other nations and therefore a national security threat. It is in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda. Therefore, I am authorizing the Department of Commerce and the United States Trade Representative to immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. We want movies made in America again. So, Trump told reporters, quote, other nations have been stealing the movie-making capability of the United States. Other countries are actually giving people big money. They are supporting them. So, and then it goes on to discuss Jon Voight's involvement, potentially gaining, hopefully, a federal tax incentive, a more just quote robust version as opposed to state tax breaks, as a way to keep production more in the U.S. They're basically trying to find a way to get these productions to operate still in the U.S., finding ways to sway them. So I think that, for anybody who operates in the film space and just, with our discussions here on this channel, very recently, actually, in regards to Los Angeles and just the operating space there, I think that many people will look at these comments and they'll see them as just, frankly, just ignorant. because, firstly, I mean, I think that he's framing this in a very typical manner. I mean, he's a politician, so obviously he's going to frame things in a political manner. So for him, it's all politically motivated. So for him, he's just going to view it more as he's saying, a national security threat, even though there is an actual threat per se to productions now, it actually has to do more with the rates that are being asked operating in U.S. soil, specifically in Los Angeles, where we talked about Los Angeles recently, and their rates are just pretty enormous, and to the point where even celebrities can't even live in those areas anymore. Like people like Mark Wahlberg had just jumped up and left to like Las Vegas, and just people who want to operate in that space, in film space, just operating with sound stages, or just filming just on the city, on location. It's incredibly expensive, and it's not going to get any cheaper. So for them, they have to look for other areas, and outside the U.S., there are just providing better rates more than ever. London, Mexico, just the UK, just generally, those places operate just or have just way lower rates compared to something like Los Angeles. So that's why you see a lot of these major studios going to those places. As a matter of fact, according to the Hollywood Reporter, just to name a couple of films that are looking to operate outside of the U.S., we have as followed. We have ones that they're working on right now. So Avengers Doomsday, of course, working in London right now. Spider-Man, Brand New Day, which also seems to be looking to shoot in London. We also have Star Wars, the new Star Wars film, which is looking to operate in the UK. Supergirl, which is operating in the UK. So in this idea of inserting a tariff based on, as he is saying, if we go back to the article here, if he's going to be imposing a tariff on films based on, quote, productions in foreign lands, what you're also saying is that the movies that are filming in foreign lands, Avengers, Spider-Man, all that stuff, these films will also be imposed with tariffs. And tariffs to import these films. So that's nuclear. I mean, that could really do a number on a lot of these major releases, and and I think it's just incredibly flawed logic to think this way, because what he's thinking is films that are, he's thinking about movies that are strictly in foreign spaces, produced by foreigners, those sorts of films. He's thinking about that specifically, and not about all the sorts of productions that are utilizing U.S. citizens and operated by U.S. citizenship, and having to go to these foreign nations because they actually provide better rates, and that's all it is to it. It's not a betrayal. It's not whatever he's framing it. It's just because they offer better rates, So, and he's going to be attacking the films of which he's wanting to preserve, So it's very, very flawed logic. And I think that it's definitely, concerning, for a lot of films. And just to illustrate all again, what he is doing is this is all in service to a political agenda towards China, and he's trying to put pressures on the Chinese market, trying to find his way to squeeze them, and ultimately, as I've said before, I think personally that this bubble is going to burst. I just know it will. There's eventually at some point the tariffs are just going to get too high, and one of these markets is going to fold. Trump already folded, of course, a couple months back, with his tariffs immediately just being dispelled in other nations because of how it was affecting the stock market. So eventually this whole little trade war that's happening right now, it's going to burst. So I don't think that something like this is going to go completely into effect, but say that it does, in a few months down the line, if this trade war is still in full swing, this is dangerous. There's repercussions to this, and I think that it's definitely going to create a lot of problems for a lot of these major films. Not only it's already difficult enough right now for them to seek out distribution to markets such as China. Like Thunderbolts, I think was lucky to get a release in China, but now it's like more difficult to gain distribution. Not only specifically maybe here in the U.S., but also outside of that, because of these parameters of having to film outside of the U.S. That may subject your film to a tariff here in the U.S., even if your production, operates here in the U.S., but you're looking to seek out lower rates overseas. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not fair. How's that fair to the U.S. citizens of which you're trying to, protect, or at least to the filmmakers here in the U.S. that we're trying to protect. So I get what he's trying to do. I understand ultimately that his idea is to try to preserve U.S. culture, but doing so in this very, very just narrow-minded way, it's extremely limiting, and ultimately you're making it worse for everybody. You're not just making it harder because also just even if this was just directed at, like, if we lived in an odd universe where we as Americans never operated in foreign lands, if we never migrated and, took our productions to foreign lands, if this was just directly just with foreigners, it's still extremely difficult for them. Then it's incredibly unfair for them, because if they want to seek distribution here in the U.S., they absolutely should, and they should have all that access to that market, and they should be able to profit from it because it's their own productions. We shouldn't gain from that outside of course, like theatrical distribution or other kinds of deals here and there. Like, it's selective. It's not such a, an umbrella and a direct sort of idea, So I just say this is just so premature and so just like, the framing of this is just very silly. But I don't think this is going to come to pass. I really don't. I don't think that something like this is really going to come to pass, because again, I feel like this is a bubble that is just going to keep expanding and expanding, and ultimately it's going to pop. So I'm not signaling like any like immediate red flags, but I'm just looking at this and I'm going, what are you doing? Like that, this makes no sense. This literally also hurts your own citizens. Like it doesn't just hurt the people overseas. It also hurts people who are here in the U.S. who also operate overseas. So it's just silly. It's just incredibly silly, and I don't think it's going to work out for him personally, if you ask me. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that real quick because that is just silly, like really, really silly. I just want to read this real quick. So apparently, among studios, there have been concerns that Trump would try to impose restrictions on any filming overseas, as generous incentives in the UK have long lured Hollywood studio tentpole productions. Like I told you, like just their rates are a lot more enticing compared to places like LA. Major Hollywood studios have come to depend on those overseas incentives as a way to reduce production costs. So, and again, that also helps with, it helps for them for keeping expenses down. This is why something like Joker 2 was like $200 million, because Todd Phillips was so content with working in that space, and then the studio just folded and let him, decided to go that way. It's like, there's just better things that come out of the foreign space. So to do what he's doing right now, it's dumb. It really is. So, but that's my thoughts on this. You guys let me know. You guys let me know your thoughts on this. Do you guys think this is going to come to pass? And how do you think this is going to... It's going to affect a lot of things. It's going to affect, production. It's going to affect distribution. Distribution already, as it is, has already been affected, but it's going to add even more pressures on distribution, creating a lot more problems in terms of distribution, not only here now, potentially, but also in outside of the U.S. Film has been looking for ways to alleviate cost. Now they may potentially have to, they potentially just literally will have no choices potentially in that matter, and they'll just have to deal with massive cost because of these specific because of wanting to potentially avoid tariffs. So yeah, it's really, really dumb. But you guys want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And again, let's try to keep it civil, because again, I know it's a political conversation, and Trump, all that stuff. I get it. Can get rage people out. I understand, but let's just be civil in the comments. Again, framing it all in the vein of film. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.